who is Chairman-elect of the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association. Jeffrey, over to you for a few words.
Thank you, Cheryl. Good evening to all the attendees, to the panelists. A very good Monday evening to you. Let me just introduce myself by saying that I've been working with the Tourism Task Force's HR Development Committee to put together this series of webinars. And for those who join us for the first time, just to give you a little indication as to the objective here, we recognize that during this period of time with COVID, there is some downtime, and we thought it would be useful to use the time to allow persons to have the opportunity to retool, to be exposed to some training and some development, particularly focusing initially on the psychosocial needs of many of our people. This evening session is going to be dealing with finances, and I believe that that is an area that many of us are very concerned about currently. So I encourage you all to, pay rapt attention, ask lots of questions, and hopefully we will all come away with something very useful from this session. Following this session, well, the series of webinars, I should say, we will be moving to place a lot of material onto the National Training Initiative's learning management system so that persons have the opportunity to go on at their leisure and undertake additional training programs. So we encourage you to stay tuned for that. And as I said, relax, sit back and enjoy this afternoon's webinar and make the most of it. So thank you and enjoy. Cheryl, back to you.
Thank you, Jeffrey. The topic today is managing personal finances. I am Cheryl Corbin, a human resources practitioner in the tourism industry and a member of the team that is working along with Jeffrey on bringing you this series of webinars and online training. This evening, it is my distinct pleasure to introduce the facilitator of the session, Miss Melinda Bell. Miss Bell is an author, speaker, and mentor. She is the founder of Astrap Pay Finance, Inc. Melinda sees her role as that of an architect and is committed to the shaping of the financial landscapes of businesses and on the personal side of finance to teach families and individuals to manage their money and create wealth. She has 2 books and has also written articles specifically for these times, 2 of which are How to Lead Your Money If You've Become Laid Off or Unemployed, and How to Manage Financial Anxiety Amidst the COVID-19 pandemic. Melinda has a wealth of knowledge to share with us this evening. I now hand over to Melinda to share with you on managing personal finance. Thank you. Melinda?
Good evening, everyone. Cheryl, I want to thank you for the opportunity, the committee for this opportunity to share on a very touchy topic at this time. I think I'll start my presentation, and in the middle of it, I will seek to introduce myself to you and let you know what my company is about. Just know that you are allowed to ask any questions that you have. So there will be a specific point in time for that. So let's get to it. Okay, so today we're talking about managing personal finances. Okay, so I am Melinda, that's who I am, and the name of my company is Astrape Finance. And Astrape is a Greek word meaning light of a gleam of a lamp, hence why our logo is a lighthouse. And we are the caring, knowledgeable, trustworthy financial company, guiding you to financial stability and prosperity through education, sound planning, and advice. And our mission is to be the leading financial education company providing resources on personal and business financial management in the Caribbean. So we actually deal with personal finance, and we also deal with business finance in terms of accounting, tax filings, and those such like. So I felt very strongly that someone needed to be talking to people about money rather than a company talking to people about money. So I created Money Matters with Melinda, and our mission is really to make money matters simple to understand. Okay, so let's get to it. So here's what a financial plan would look like. Now, I'm not saying that everybody should have been able to accomplish all of these all at once, because you know what, life is a journey and everybody's at various stages in their financial walk. So I don't expect everybody to have all of this together, but it's good to know what a financial plan looks like, okay? So plan to acquire assets, whether you want to acquire a home, for example, to manage your debts, because that's really important. Acquire insurance coverage for your assets, to build savings and investments, and a plan to retire, and most importantly, planning your estate. But I have wonderful news, folks. You don't need to have money in order to have a financial plan. You don't need to be wealthy. You don't need to come from a wealthy family. All you need is the idea of where it is that you actually want to go and what it is that you want to accomplish, okay? So you can take a deep breath in and then let it out and not feel any condemnation, okay? But this is good to know. So let's get to it, because then this will give you an idea of how you could go about and create your own financial plan, all right? So a plan to acquire assets, meaning what you own. Some people may want savings accounts, some people may want investments. Mutual funds seems to be a pretty safe way of investing your money these days. Some people may want automobiles, maybe to rent out or maybe just to have. And some people may want a home to rent out or, you know, to acquire, to have as their own. And then managing your debts, what you owe, and we're going to talk about that specifically later on. Their education loans, car loans, credit cards, mortgages. So financial institutions actually allow you to borrow money to acquire certain things, depending on your goals and what is it that you're looking to accomplish. A plan to acquire insurance, and insurance coverage is very, very key. There's life, should something happen to you, your family has a source of income at your untimely passing, because we don't necessarily want to plan for such uncertainty, but it's really, really important. Health, disability, property, so you could think about those different things, okay? And then building savings, it's very, very crucial and very key to have savings. And I think that we, especially during this COVID pandemic, we realized how beneficial it is to actually have some form of savings in order to ensure we're able to tide over these uncertain times. So emergency funds is something that you can look into. There isn't a bank account which is called an emergency fund. It's just that you decide that you set up a bank account and use that specifically for saving for emergencies. Unemployment, should you become unemployed, experts say that you should save 3 to 6 months of your living expenses. Well, I know that that may not be possible for some people at this stage, but it's something to consider. Even if it is you save 1 month of your living expenses to start off, that might be beneficial. And then in terms of a deposit for a home, it's very crucial as well too, because let's say, for example, you decide you want to buy a house for $200,000 and you save $20,000 for the deposit, then you really and truly are paying the mortgage on $200,000 less $20,000, which is $80,000. And then building investments, because we don't necessarily want to be, you know, working all of our lives and not making our money work for us. So there are different options, although they may be slightly limited in Barbados. It's still something that you can look into. Stocks from the Barbados Stock Exchange. You could visit an investment broker in order to do so. I would have started my investment portfolio like that. I would have started with $100. And this isn't to say that I just put $100 and expect it to grow over a period of time. What I have to do is actually put money into it so that it could accumulate and it could grow. And you can get returns on it, such as dividends, interest, and capital gains. So the point is that you want you want your money to work for you on bonds, mutual funds, and such the like. And then a plan to retire. There's a story that I read, and it was about a lady who had her nephew come over, and he was hungry. So he decided that he was going to go into the cupboard to see what she has to eat. And when he looked in the cupboard, he saw dog food. And then he said, well, my aunt doesn't have any dogs, so I don't understand why there's dog food in her cupboard. And would you believe that when he confronted her about it, she said that that's all I can afford to eat. So planning for retirement is very, very crucial and very, very key. There are registered retirement savings plans. You can put your money in there. Employee contributions, if they opt, or if your company gives you the opportunity to contribute to pension schemes, well, then that would be beneficial for you over the long run to put your money in an investment vehicle like that, which could help you plan for retirement and save for retirement. So if you don't plan for retirement, you're stealing money from your future self. So it's important to really set aside some as much as possible. Maybe 10%, 5% of your income could go towards that. Planning your estate, which is very crucial and very key. If you don't make a plan and say specifically who you're leaving what to, people tend to come out with the word works when it comes to somebody dying. So it's important to know and answer these questions. Who will I pass on my wealth to? Who will be the executor of my estate? So if you could find somebody professional who could do that for you, fine. Writing a will, credit unions allow that service. They have that service. If it is that you're looking to set aside your belongings and making sure that it goes where it's supposed to go at the time of your passing, then you could opt to do that. So what makes the financial plan possible? I mean, I could tell you all about the various components of a financial plan, but how are we going to make this work? So there's a term that I came up with, financial leadership. And financial leadership is giving your money purpose and direction. Financial leadership is giving your money purpose and direction. So I'm going to explain this further. So let's say you're the CEO of a company and you have a vision for your company. And the vision of any CEO of a company is that they want their company to be profitable. So this is what the Chief Executive Officer is going to do. He's going to give tasks to Human Resources Department. He's going to give tasks to the marketing. He's going to give tasks to finance, accounting, and manufacturing. And guess what? Once everybody does what they're supposed to do, then it's quite possible that the company could turn out into a profit. So what I'm saying is that with financial leadership, you are the CEO of your money and you're telling your money what to do, not allowing your money to tell you what to do. And for somebody who was a habitual spender, I allowed my money to tell me what to do. But the problem was that I didn't have a vision for my life. I mean, I'm 37, but at that time I was about in my 20s when I got my first job. But the problem was that I had no idea nor clue what it is that I wanted out of life. So my spending was misguided. So it's really important to know and understand what it is that you want, and I'll show you how to do it. Okay. So I think that at the forefront of everybody's mind right now, as it relates to personal finances, is debt management. How do I manage my debt? How do I get out of it? How do I stay clear of it? I have a personal goal of making sure that I pay off my car by the end of this year. I really don't want to pay out any more money to creditors. I just want to be able to accomplish other financial goals that I have in mind. So essentially with debt, what it is that the money is going out of your pocket into the pockets of your creditors. So you're not able to keep it and retain it to accomplish other financial goals. Now, there may be some of you who may have been laid off, or you know of someone who may have been laid off. So I came up with a flow chart, which could help people make decisions as it relates to managing your debt. Now, the first step with debt management, especially if you may be behind in some payments and you're struggling with keeping up on top of your payments, what you need to do is to contact your creditors. Let them know exactly what is going on, okay? So here's the question I propose. Do I still service my debts? The answer is yes. You can opt to make your payments online because we're about practicing social distancing and not being among people at this point in time because we want to remain safe. But if it is that you genuinely are not able to pay your debts and you don't have the income to do so, and if your lending institution is giving you a grace period, the moratorium, as most of y'all would know, is that they're allowing people probably 3 months, up to 3 months, not having to make any payments to their loans. But you have to always remember, and you should ask that question, if it is that I opt for the moratorium, does that mean that interest will still be accrued over a period of that time, those 3 months that I am not paying? Yes, they stop your payments at that time, but there may be some lending institutions who would still accrue interest. So you have to weigh the pros and cons because it sounds good, but in some institutions might still charge interest, okay? So if your lending institution is given a grace period, you make contact with them and you let them know, you know what, I won't be paying at this time. But even if it is that you would have opted for it, why not decide to make part payment towards it? You may not be able to make the full payment as you would like, but you could communicate, you know what, I'm gonna put some form of interest towards it, some form of interest payment towards it, okay? And then if it is that your institution is not given a grace period, well, you can opt to pay the minimum amount due at this point because things are a bit touchy right now. And when I say pay the minimum amount due, let's say, for example, if you are accustomed paying $500 minimum to the payment, fine. But then there may be some people who might be putting an extra $50 towards it. So that would be $550 that you would normally be paying. Now, if you opt to make the minimum payment, then you actually have $50 on you. So because you want to remain liquid at this time. So this is something anyone could consider. Now, as it relates to debt management, yeah, you should pay more than the minimum amount due, because if you pay just the minimum amount due, what's happening is that they're not putting that full amount on. So if the minimum amount is $100, they're going to take interest off of that payment and put the remainder towards that, which is why they keep you on their system for a very long period of time. Another way that you could manage your debt is to lower your credit card limit. If your credit card limit is, I don't know, $3,000 right now, you could opt to have it lowered to $1,000. I made the personal decision not to have a credit card. And the reason why I made that decision was because I know myself. If I see something, guess what? I'm going to want to swipe it. So I know and understand myself. So I made that personal decision. So you don't have to go to cold turkey like I did. But there's an option, the Visa debit card, and it works just as great as a credit card. But the wonderful thing is that I'm not paying interest on my payment. Whatever the amount of money is, let's say if there's something that I'm purchasing for 20 Barbados, well, it's 20 Barbados that's coming off of my account. However, the wonderful thing is that if there's no money on the account, well, guess what? I won't be able to make the purchase. Using the debt snowball, I don't know if there are any of you who would have grown up watching Bugs Bunny, and you would have seen they were at the top of the mountain and they started rolling down the hill. And the more they rolled down the hill, it turned into a snowball. It became bigger and bigger and bigger, right? So that's what they mean by the debt snowball. So let's say you're servicing two debts. So debt one is $100 and debt two is $200, okay? And you're still paying the minimum amount due, or you could opt to pay more than the minimum amount due. So the debt that you were paying $100 towards, oh, by the way, with respect to determining which debt it is that you should get rid of first, I recommend either the debt with the smallest amount due or the debt with the highest interest rate. Now, with respect to paying off your mortgage first, the good thing we hope is that our property accrues in value. It increases in value. But with loans on cars, for example, and on hire purchase and those different things, those assets, a car especially, its value is not appreciating, it's depreciating, meaning its value is becoming less and less every year, which is why insurance companies ask you to value your vehicles to see how much you would have to actually pay towards your insurance premium, okay? So debt number one, $100. Debt number two, $200. So you would have finished paying the debt with $100. And guess what? The money from debt number one, you could put to debt number two. Remember the amount of money we were paying to debt number two was $200. So you add $200 and $100. And guess what? You could put $300 towards debt number three, okay? So it makes it really possible for you to pay off your debt at a quicker rate. Consolidating your debt, some people may want to opt for that option. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's say if someone has 3 credit cards and they say, you know what, I'm out of control, I need help, I need to get rid of this quick. So you gather all of the amounts from the 3 credit cards, okay? And what happens is that you're just making one payment towards that. However, if it is that you're getting rid of those 3 accounts, you're paying off those 3 credit card accounts, what you want to ensure is that you're actually closing those accounts, okay? So consolidating your debt is good because it might end up being a lower payment for you, and then a little more cash flow will be freed up. Sounds simple, plain and simple, but I think it's strategic, selling what it is that you have in order to get out of debt. So you may have a lot of what you're not using. You may have clothes, you may have, I don't know, shower curtains that were not used, curtains that weren't used, those different things, okay? There are people actually looking for what it is that you have that you're not using. And guess what? You may be able to earn a little income on the side towards that. So consider that as it relates to getting out of debt. Now let's look at budgeting. A budget is a spending plan used to allocate money for various spending purposes, okay? Whether it's rent, utilities, groceries, savings, whatever it is.
Melinda,
yes.
if I may interrupt you at this
point. Of course you may.
There's a question that has come in where someone is saying, I have 5,000 square feet of land. Is it best at this time to keep it or sell it? They say the land tax has accumulated arrears. So they want some advice. Do you want to do this at the end, or would you want to respond now? Okay,
at the end.
All right.
That's fine. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Okay, good. So as it relates to budgeting, sometimes we don't know where our money is going, and maybe some of us don't budget, and it gets a little frustrating because you don't know where your money is going, all right? So the important thing is to know your numbers, get to know your numbers, and to track your spending. Because once you're able to track the behavior, then you'll be able to see, this is where my money is going towards coffee. This is where my money is going towards lunches. This is where my money is going towards different things. And I'm somebody, hello, I'm an entrepreneur, and I shop for convenience. So if I don't have the time to cook, guess what? I'm going to go somewhere and buy something to eat. So I decided that I'm going to track those numbers to see where I'm going. And definitely, unfortunately, that's where the money is going. So I'm making a conscious effort to actually lower my spend, okay, so that I can accomplish other things. Just being transparent with you there. No, I'm not sure you're going to be able to see this, but I believe so. So this is what a budget template would look like, all right? So there's a reason why there's the budgeted amount and the actual amount, okay? So while you're getting to know your numbers and understand where the money is going, you want to enter this information under the actual column. How much money am I actually spending on gas? How much money am I actually spending on eating out? How much money am I actually spending on online shopping? Those different things. So once you know the figures for housing, utilities, food, transportation, medical insurance, and all those things, then you get an idea of where your money is going and how you're spending your money. And once you actually have that information, then you'll be able to create your budget. Because sometimes somebody might say, well, I don't know how much I spend in terms of gas or any of those things. But once you have an idea, once you keep track, then you'll be able to create your budget because you actually have information. So how do you create your budget? You list your income, you list your expenses, and you make a plan for every single cent that you have. I am quite aware that there may be some who may not be working for the same level of income that they would be working for as a result of this pandemic, but you still want to be able to plan. You still want to be able to work with your essentials to stick to the essentials: food, shelter, clothing, well, in some instances, depending on gas and those different things, utilities, if you are able to. So at this point, I think this would be a beneficial practice for you because believe me, budgeting is a lifetime practice. It is not something that you're going to get right every month. It varies. Life surprises come up. Somebody gets sick. Different things occur. So every month is not going to be the same. So in terms of using both of these columns, let's say food, for example. So if you have a food bill of $1,000, and so that's the budgeted amount that you plan to spend. And then in one shopping trip, you spent $200, okay? So if, like I said, you spent the budgeted amount was $1,000 and the actual amount was $200 that you spent, then you know you actually have $800 left. So that's the purpose this budget control schedule serves. And I'm more than happy to make this available to you all. That's no problem. And the presentation also. That's fine by me. Okay. So it's really important to track each spending category. Like I said, it takes practice. It's not something that you're going to get right or, you know, get overnight, but this is something that you're going to have to do over a lifetime. Now, these are different things to consider as relates to budgeting your money. Managing your grocery expenses, I know it can be variable, meaning that, you know, not every month is going to be $500 and every month is going to be $750. That's not what I'm saying. It's variable, but might want to consider shopping weekly, and this might be more useful for like people who, you know, are single or couples or married couples. You might want to consider that. There's certain items you can purchase in bulk. I'm not telling you to purchase vegetables in bulk because you don't want to spoil food, okay? But I'm talking about, like, I don't know, tuna. I'm talking about diapers. I'm talking about baby milk, those different things. I'm talking about toilet paper. I find that this is a trend now going on that people are actually resorting to growing their food. So that should help lessen your bill. I mean, there are different hardware stores or different nurseries that are selling seedlings. You might want to start that. I'm considering starting that. So that's on my to-do list as well. So I want to make sure that I get on board with this. So that's something you can consider as it relates to managing your grocery expenses. Savings, where can I find room in my budget to save? Yes, remember I mentioned earlier about managing your debt. If you consolidate your debt, let's say, for example, you paid a loan of total loan amount, monthly amount of $1,000. I know it's not realistic, it's just an example. But if you consolidate your debt, then guess what? You may end up paying $750 now because you consolidated debt. And guess what? You have $250 now to set aside. So that's something you could consider. Open a savings account. Have an account separate from the account that you actually put your money, put your salary on. And I have a credit union account, but I don't have a bank card. Unfortunately, my bag got stolen. That was years ago. That's okay. But I don't have a bank card, but I didn't bother also. So if there's an absolute emergency, I'm standing up in the long line. I'm actually going to retrieve the money. So that's the controls I have in place for myself. I'm not telling you to go like how I do, but that's okay. You could opt to save $1, the silver dollars, those add up. $2 bills, $5 bills from purchases that you would make. Those things add up over time, and reducing your spending. That's something that you could look into as well. How you could reduce your spending, audit the number of subscriptions that you have. And sometimes, you know, when we see things and we have hobbies or there are things and entertainment that we like to do, and I'm not saying there's nothing wrong with spending money on entertainment, don't get me wrong, but if you have more than one subscription towards television streaming, then you only need one. That's the reality, you only need one. So you could consider doing an audit of the number of subscriptions you have. You may have subscriptions to magazines, you may have subscriptions to different things, but if you have more than one type of subscription to something, those little things add up. And even this relates to online shopping. I would have mentioned that earlier. Online shopping, you know, it's so easy. They know what we like and it just shows up conveniently out of nowhere. It's as if like they're reading your mind, but what they're doing is just monitoring, you know, how you use Instagram or how you use Facebook and what it is that you look at. So then they assume, okay, you know what, if I put this in Melinda's line of sight, then she would want it. So we have to be careful with those things because those little things eat up. Higher purchase eats up as well too. So you want to be careful with that. If you have, in terms of clothing, you might want to sell some, you might want to give away some. There may be some of us who may be blessed with an abundance of clothes. So if you want to get that under control, because we may think that we need more of something, but we don't take the time to go and look in our closet to see actually what it is that we have. So you never know. Some of those things which you've never worn, you can sell and also give away. But I always recommend to people, especially when you're giving away, don't give somebody what you don't want. Make sure it's in well condition. Drinking, eating out, those little things add up. Coffees, why not purchase a coffee pot and make your coffee from home and bring it to work? Lunches, yeah, I'm a work in progress on that. And dinners, you know, sometimes we like the convenience of shopping for a meal, but actually cooking from home could actually save us $1 or $2. Now, when we're talking about goal setting, when I'm talking about goal setting, what I find goal setting does, and although things may be a little bleak right now, and maybe you're not working right now, remember what I said, you don't need to have money in order to have a financial plan. How else will you know what to do with your money when you finally get it? So with goal setting, what it does is that it gives you hope, and it also gives you something to work towards and look towards, okay? So what is the goal? A goal is a series of steps taken to arrive at a destination. And, oh dear, yes, forgive that. All right, so the makeup of a goal. So there are different types of goals. There's a description of a goal. There's a level of priority. There's target date and cost estimate. And we're gonna look into that in greater detail. No, so we have grand visions for our lives. So, you know, we feel pressure that everything has to happen all at once, but that's not really possible. And I'm not expecting you to accomplish it all at once. So you could break it down into bite-sized pieces. You could break down what it is that you want to accomplish in the short term, what you want to accomplish in the immediate term, and what you want to accomplish over the long term. So short term is a year, intermediate term is 2 to 5 years, and long term is 6+ years. And you want to describe your goals. You want to be very specific. You just don't want to say, I want to save money for school. First of all, you don't know how much you want to save, and you don't know when you want to save it by. So it's very important to be very, very realistic, of course, but quite on point with describing what it is that you actually want to accomplish. Levels of priority, and this is what would help us to distinguish between our needs and our wants. Some wants are good, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, you know, you can't have what you want sometimes, but this would help you structure your goal setting. So they can be of low priority, they can be of medium priority, and they can be of high priority. So when you're giving your money purpose, you need to give yourself, like I mentioned earlier, a date to accomplish it by, and you need to know how much it will cost. So if it is that you're looking to pay off a credit card by the end of the year with a balance of $1,000, well, you know that you want to pay off that credit card by the end of the year, and you know that you have to set aside $1,000, well, added interest in order to do so. So this is what a goal sheet would look like. So you could set up your short-term goals in this column, in this section. You could set up your intermediate term goals in this section, and you could set up your long-term goals in this section. And yes, so I can also make this goal sheet available to you as well. Now, what's gonna make all of this work is renewing our money mindset, how we view money, how we see money, how we understand money. And much of what we would have learned in the home is translated into our spending and translated into our behavior, because people influence the way we think, our parents influence the way we think, our communities influence the way we think, our peers, our colleagues influence the way we think. All right, so I came up with a way in which you can renew your money mindset. And the key is to find out the origin. Because, you know, outside of the pandemic and outside of having to experience job loss, maybe, or a layoff, all these unfortunate circumstances, sometimes we need to take responsibility for where we're at and why we do what we do, because it doesn't make sense pointing fingers at other people, but we need to take responsibility, all right? And the only way that that's going to work is if we change our mindset. Water is not going to flow through a clogged pipe. That's not possible. But if the pipe is unclogged, then things can flow freely, all right? So determine what the origin is. Why did I start thinking the way I did about money? Why do I shop the way I do? Why is it, well, for me, if I felt really sad and I needed a pick-me-up, guess what? I'm going to town. And, you know, retail therapy is all right, you know, when you're traveling overseas and getting those nice things at a cheaper price, that's fine. But I understood the reason why I did it. I was looking for things to complete me, to make me feel good, which would have thrown me off course because, again, I went against, you know, the goals that I wanted to accomplish or I thought I wanted to accomplish. So it's important to know the origin and then to change the mindset, because you know what? You understand that, you know, with every decision that I make or with my mindset, the way I view my money, if I think of it less or if I think it's not enough and I don't put it in good places, well, guess what? Your mindset influences your behavior. The way you think influences your behavior. And once you change your mindset and then you change your behavior as a result of the way you're thinking, then things grow. So your outlook on money could be renewed. Your money is your seed. Your natural abilities are what make you intelligent and possibly earn you a living. I speak for a living. I write books for a living. Those things that I'm good at naturally earn me income. And skills do make money, especially if you're somebody who's been laid off or who's lost a job. You could consider thinking about these different things that you could do. You have the potential to grow. Everybody has the potential to grow, and you have the ability to lead yourself. So it's really important to spend some time in deep reflection, to really think about, you know, where you're at and where you want to be. And I'm sure we would have had so much time during this down period to really think about where we're at and where it is that we need to be. So it's something that happens, renewing our money mindset, which happens with making one healthy decision at a time. All right. So there's just a couple of things that I would like you to know. I wrote a book, My Money and Me, which takes a look at how your behavior affects the way you manage your money. So you can find it on Amazon, or you can message me directly and get it from me. It's a journal, and it allows you to really look into you and where you're at and how you can make the changes necessary. And then also I have a Money Matters Academy, which is an online academy. So I started personal finance courses. So the first one that I have is for children. It's really important to pass on a legacy through children, for your children. So they're never too young to learn about money, but there'll be many more courses to come as a result. So I just want to thank everybody for the opportunity. You can follow me on Instagram, question and answer coming up. I'm not leaving, don't worry. Instagram, you can follow me on Facebook. You can go to my website. You can also email me, or you can WhatsApp me at this number if you have any questions that you're not comfortable sharing at the moment. And I think that I am finished with my presentation. So let's get with the question and answer segment. Can't hear you, Cheryl. Thank you.
We have a number of questions that have come through, and the first one relates to explaining accrued interests. So one of the participants wants accrued interest explained.
All right, so accrued interest. So if you are acquiring a loan, there's an interest rate charged to the loan. They're not just gonna lend you $50,000 and then you're just paying off $50,000. It's their way of earning income, okay? So they charge an interest rate to the amount of money that you borrow. And I talked about the accrued interest. So with every loan payment, because remember I told you that the minimum amount is just the minimum amount that they want you to pay, but they take interest off and then pays the remaining amount towards your loan. So when I talk about accrued interest, meaning that over the time period with the moratorium, what's happening is that although you may not be paying, some companies, they still need to make their own money because they're in anticipation. When you make the payment, you give them their cut, their ability to earn. So if it has frozen over that time period and they're still accruing interest, then when the moratorium ends, then you may be expected to pay that interest amount.
Okay, thank you. I have 5,000 square feet of land. Is it best at this time to keep it or should I sell it? The land tax has accumulated arrears.
Interesting. Oh, I see. Okay, so the question would be, is the arrears greater than, you see, I don't want the person to speak their personal information. So the point is, what I'm trying to say is that, what is the value of the land? I would hope that the arrears is not as much as the land, if you get what I'm saying. It depends. I don't want to speak out of turn because I need to know specifically numbers in order to rightfully understand where the person is at.
Should we ask this person to contact you personally?
Yeah, contact me. This would just be complimentary. We just have a discussion. So definitely contact me for sure. But it all depends the amount of arrears. If it's greater, if the arrears, if you're looking to sell the land would cover the arrears. I think that's what they're looking at, probably.
Yes. Another question, would we be able to get a copy of the money tracking template?
Definitely, I'll make that so available for sure.
Okay, and who do we speak with regards to if we wanted to invest in mutual funds? Is it banks? Who is it?
Okay, I'm not a salesperson for this company, okay? Let me make that abundantly clear. I'm not getting commission for any of this, but I've seen Fortress, and Fortress allows you to start mutual funds at $100. So that's one company you can look at. I thought Sagicor was, but I'm not so sure that they are right now, but I definitely know about Fortress.
Okay.
Fortress.
Right. This one is Melinda. Isn't debt consolidation based on the loan agency agreeing to the terms after checking your credit rating?
Definitely.
So will these agencies even be considering these terms during this financial downturn? I guess in the case of persons who are laid off and so on, that's the concern.
Yes, that's the concern because they want to know that you're able to facilitate the loan, right? Yeah. I think certain records for certain bad debts, I think that they're on from did I hear 7 years or something like that? After 5 to 7 years, something like that. That record of the bad debt stays on your credit record.
Okay.
Somebody just said, quick, cool read. Thank you. That Sagicor still does sell mutual funds. Well, there we go.
Okay.
I know that they're delisted, but I wasn't sure about the mutual funds. So thanks for clarifying that.
So this participant wants to know, what is the age requirement for your financial class for children?
Oh, okay, sure. It's ages 4 to 8. So it start really young. Yes. So that's for this one. But I'm going to be working on one for preteens and teens coming up. So, but this one is for ages 4 to 8.
Right. This participant wanted you to go back one time, please, but I'm not sure related to what. So if the participant could please type in what they wanted you to go back on.
Yes, that would be helpful.
Right. Another question is, would you recommend having discount cards to help save wherever possible?
Oh, yes. If they allow you certain savings on certain purchases, by all means, yes. I think Massey allows you to accumulate points over a period of time. So it could significantly reduce your grocery bill. And then also Esso, I think they have an app where they record, you're allowed to make record of the amount of money was spent in gas, so you accumulate on points. And so you can use those points towards purchasing gas. So I've done it, it works. So yeah, I would recommend that.
Okay. Okay, so that looks like the end of the questions that we have here. I don't know if anyone else has received questions. So the top, it just came through now. It's, can you please go back to the name Money Matter Academy site?
Sure, no problem. That's okay. Let me share my screen again. Let's just get this in order. And again, I'll make this presentation available also. That's really no problem. I'm getting there.
Yeah.
There it is. moneymattersacademy.thinkific.com. So I'll leave it up for a minute more.
Right. Meanwhile, I'll read you another question.
Sure.
Should banks and lending institutions be prepared to change their lending stipulations given the times that we are in currently? Share your thoughts.
I guess it would help certain people. For some people might want to opt to elongate their payments if things tend to be a little iffy right now. I would say it depends on the relationship you have with your credit officer, your loans officer. And it's really important to keep them up to date with how you're doing and where you're at. I mean, I recommend the same for business owners, that they keep in touch with their loans officer or their credit manager, whoever the person is, because you're letting them know this is how the company is performing and this is where we're at, so that by the time things become a little iffy, then you can work with your lending officer to work out a plan specifically to help out with your unique situation. Again, banks would have allowed the moratorium in light of this pandemic, fine. I'm not aware of any other initiatives that they may be putting forward or measures that they would be putting forward. But I would recommend in terms of that, really have a close relationship with your lender, you know, and there's nothing wrong with that.
Right. Another question. How do I decide if to buy in bulk or shop at a regular supermarket?
It depends. We definitely will have to do some research to find out what the prices are at. I think I would have done this for some young mothers. I looked at the price of buying certain things in bulk and buying it on a weekly basis. And when I compared the pricing, it turns out to be, let's say for example, diapers, it turned out to be cheaper to buy it in bulk, okay? But if you buy it on weekly, it's gonna cost you a little bit more money. So when I say do your research, the item that you're looking to purchase in bulk, find out the price of that, find out the amount that's offered under that bulk purchase price, and divide it to find out how much it costs for example, one toilet paper roll. And look at the cost of, I don't know, one that has 4 in them. So it's just a matter of doing your research, so to speak. So you can look at it like that.
Okay. Another question. Can you also consider a barter system, since so many people may not have the liquidity, as you termed it?
Mm-hmm. Yes, there's nothing wrong with bartering. If at all possible, you exchange things, that's fine. We have to be very creative in this time. So once the person is okay with it, by all means, go right ahead.
Okay. The person with the land question came back to say that the land value is more than the arrears.
Okay. Okay.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
Another question, is it better to buy the items from the supermarket or to buy from distributors? From the distributors.
It might, okay, so when you buy from distributors, it tends out to be cheaper. You get a lot more and they tend to sell it at, I think, wholesale price. So it might work out to be cheaper in certain situations. For large families, definitely I would recommend that, but it could work out to be cheaper, but do your research. That's what I would say. But it could help out to be cost effective.
Right. So right now, we don't have any more questions in the chat that have not been.
If the person with the land question.
Sorry, there's one more. There's one more that has just come in.
Okay.
In your opinion, where would be a good place to invest a small lump sum of money? 4 figures, mutual funds, bonds? That's the question.
I would say mutual funds at this time.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you.
And if the person with the land question could contact me, that would be helpful.
There's actually one of the participants making a recommendation to the person who asked about the bulk purchasing. And what is being recommended is, it says, I would like to suggest that one get together with someone else to purchase in bulk. So if you, yes, so as a you know, a grouping of people maybe to make the bulk purchases.
Mm-hmm. That would help. Yep.
Yeah. Another question is, you made frequent mention of opening back accounts for various purposes, savings, emergency, etc. Is this ideal, especially now with banks charging $5 per month maintenance fee?
Right, because if you don't have a particular balance, I will not call the name of the institution. If it goes below a particular balance, they're gonna take off bank charges. I understand. I always say that credit unions are customer friendly. Their rates tend to be friendly. It may be more than a commercial bank, but the point is that you want to have money available should there be an emergency. I would recommend wholeheartedly putting all of your savings in the house in shoe boxes. Should a fire occur, you end up losing it. So I'm just saying, have something to house you know, that will be separate. Yeah, the interest rates are not favorable, but if it is that you're looking for something more favorable to set aside money for use later, you can look into mutual funds by all means. But it's just a form or a way for you to actually access money should there be any emergency.
Okay, this one is a comment being made where it's being stated that some distributors sell at a price higher than the retail outlet.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Like I said, it happens. It varies.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It varies.
Yeah.
Someone mentioned about, yes, paying your credit cards in full. I forgot about that. I forgot to talk about that. Definitely. If you end up using, okay, so if you have a limit of $1,000 and you end up spending $1,000 in 1 month, you could pay that amount in full. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, this is a question. The person indicated that they joined late, so they're not sure if this was covered. However, the question is, how would you recommend substantially reducing mortgage principal?
You would have to talk with your lending officer, or when you're making the payment, tell them specifically you want money put towards the principal. So you make that communication.
Right, and I think this person is just wanting to clarify. So the person is saying, is it better to buy the items from the supermarket or to buy from the distributors?
Again, back to what the other person would recommended. If you go with more than one person, fine. But if it is you specifically, I would say go to the supermarket. There's PriceSmart, just costs you less. Their prices tend to be okay. So you could consider going there as it relates to purchasing in bulk.
Okay, so we have no more questions at this point in time. So I think we'll make one last call for questions. Okay. So there being no questions coming through, I think we can move on. And at this point then, Melinda, I'd like to say thank you so much on behalf of the participants and the Barbados Together webinar series team. I want to thank you for a most insightful, thought-provoking, and exhilarating session on managing your personal finances. The areas covered, I felt, gave great information and obviously stimulated thought as seen in the various questions that would have come through. And I would say that it is information not just for during this time of COVID, but certainly beyond COVID.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes, so thank you very much. I would also like to thank those who provide technical assistance to us, Ms. Jamila Hollingsworth and Ms. Tanisha Holder, the Barbados Tourism Marketing Inc. for their support and involvement, the Barbados Government Information Service, and all those involved with the Barbados Together program for tourism. It has been our pleasure to bring this session to you. Thank you to all participants. And I want to reach out to you to ask you to join and to tell all your friends about the session on Wednesday, June 10th, which is entitled Leading in the Times of Crisis, COVID-19 and Beyond, with Norma Shorey as the presenter. I would now ask any committee members who are on the call who wish to share to do so at this time.
Hello, can you hear me? Sorry.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, Gail, we can hear you.
Let me make sure you can see me first of all. Thank you.
Yes, we can see you now as well.
Thank you, Melinda, and thank you, Cheryl, and all of the technical team. This has been a nice journey, and we're happy that we're able to bring you this webinar series. And as Jeffrey would have said earlier, we intend that these sessions are going to be recorded so that persons can view them at later times and at their own convenience. Cheryl had mentioned that there's going to be a session with Norma Shuri on Wednesday, but there's also another session with Anderson Kelman and Ian Blanchard and a gym instructor on Friday. And that is going to be dealing with your physical and mental health and helping you to cope in this time of COVID. As you can see, everything is just so busy. Everything is just fluid. Things are just, although people are maybe at home, you have different stressors and so on, you have to have an ability to dig deep within you and say, okay, we're going to come out of this for the better. We're going to make tourism emerge from this situation with COVID, because tourism and all the tourism entities are the lifeblood of the Barbados economy. And we need to make it happen for Barbados. So we need you, and we need all of your commitment and enthusiasm to make sure that Barbados can be that #1 destination when the doors open up for tourism or tourists to come to our shores again. And we want you to have a safe evening and to continue to be safe and follow all the necessary precautions that you're asked to do so by the health authorities. So that is my 2 minutes or little bit that I have to say for this evening. So thank you for joining, and thank everybody else for all their contributions so far. It has been wonderful.
Right. Thank you, Gail. Gail Headley,
yes,
I believe, wants to say something now.
Yes, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks very much to the presenters. Melinda, a fantastic presentation. I'm sure those persons who participated would love to hear you present again. It was really fantastic. Good learning for all of us, and tips that we can take, not just for now, but for the future, if you want to advance our financial status, more or less. Especially as females, I find we have impulse spending habits that we need to get rid of. So that was really helpful. Thank you, Cheryl, for being a moderator too as well. I'm sure you enjoyed your session. Yep, it was really well. And thanks to all those persons working in the background, all those persons in Human Resource Development Committee. Thank you, Gail, as well. Jamila, Tamisha, Jeffrey, he's already gone, but I want to thank everyone. And finally, thanks to the attendees. Without you, this could not be possible. We look forward to seeing you on Wednesday, and we look forward to seeing you again on Friday. Please tell all your friends, tell your family, whether they work in the sector or not. Just encourage them to come on board and to listen to these sessions. There's lots of food for thought. And you may even feel that you want to get involved in the tourism industry after you've listened to these sessions. So we look forward to seeing you again on Fridays and on Wednesday. Have a great evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a wonderful night, everybody. Stay safe.
Thank you.